I saw her again tonight. Platform 3, same coat, same silence. But she never gets on the train, not once in 42 days. And tonight, I finally asked why. It started harmlessly. I passed the same platform every evening on my way home from work. Just a quiet walk, headphones in, podcast playing. But she was always there. Same spot, right at the edge of the yellow line, always alone, never with a phone. Never even looking around, just standing, waiting. At first, I didn't think much of it. Some people are just creatures of habit, thoughtful. But then, I realized something strange. She never boarded the train, not once. The 6:40 would arrive, the doors would open, people would flood in, but she wouldn't move. She just stood there, as if frozen in place. I started to notice her more and more. Sometimes she'd wear different clothes. Once she held a bouquet, another time, a book. But always, she was just there. I told myself not to get carried away. It's just coincidence, just routine. But the more I saw her, the more she didn't feel like background. She felt intentional, curious. I started to wonder if I was the only one who noticed. So I looked around. Other commuters, regulars, tourists. Surprised. Nobody looked twice, as if she was invisible to them. Pensive. That only made me more drawn to her. The idea that she was quietly present in this chaotic city, yet no one else seemed to see her. That was unsettling. Questioning. What was she doing? Was she waiting for someone who never showed up? Was it a ritual, grief, a game? One day I arrived early and sat on the bench across the platform. I watched her for nearly an hour. She didn't look at a single person, didn't speak, didn't even blink too much. And when the train came, she did what she always did. Stepped back, let it pass, stayed. Meticulous. I began writing notes about her, patterns, posture, objects she carried, the way her coat buttoned up, the way she wore her scarf differently, depending on the weather. This wasn't a crush. It wasn't even attraction. Thoughtful. It was curiosity bordering on obsession. The notebook she carried one day was different. Worn, frayed edges, hand-stitched spine. I recognized it because I had the same one years ago. Bought at a local paper shop that had long since closed. Reflective. I wondered if that was her connection too. Holding on to something that no longer existed. A week later, she brought flowers. Fresh. Hand-picked maybe. Wild-looking. She stood there, with them loosely in hand, petals trembling in the wind. And when the train came, I stood beside her for a full minute before speaking. "Hi. I've seen you here before. You come here often." Cliché. Awful. Regrettable. But she didn't flinch. "I do," she said. "Waiting for someone?" I asked. She looked at me, and in that moment her face seemed impossibly kind. "Not anymore," she replied. And that was it. No explanation, no name. I wanted to ask more, but something about her presence kept me quiet. We stood in silence until the train came. And again, she didn't get on. I met her again 2 days later. She was early, so was I. I sat beside her. "What's your name?" I asked. She smiled. "Ava." I told her mine. She didn't offer anything else, and I didn't want to push. But each time after, we spoke a little more. I learned that she used to play piano, that her dad had taught her, that she hadn't touched a key since he passed. She loved storms, hated elevators, collected receipts from cafes she liked, but never once did she talk about why she came to the station. One cold evening she said, "I was supposed to meet someone here once, 5 years ago. We said we'd run away together. We had it all planned. I waited. He never came. Did something happen? I asked. She nodded slowly. He died. Accident. Day before we were meant to leave. Silence filled the air between us. Since then, she said, I come here. Not every day, but often. To remember what it felt like to expect something beautiful. I wanted to hold that moment, but it passed too quickly. She stood up, smiled, and walked away before the train arrived. I didn't see her the next day or the next week. Eventually, I stopped going so often. Life took over again. But sometimes, when the city feels too loud, I find myself back at that platform, and I glance at her spot. It's empty now, but not really. Because part of her story, or whatever she was, still lives there. I still don't know if she was real. No one I asked remembered seeing her. No security footage, nothing. But I remember her laugh, the way she'd look up when a train approached, the warmth in her voice. Whether she was real, or a ghost, or just a figment of my lonely mind, doesn't matter. She reminded me of something I'd forgotten, the beauty of showing up, even when no one else does. So if you ever see a girl at the edge of a platform, standing silently, don't interrupt her. She might be remembering something beautiful too.